One officer indicted in Breonna Taylor case, not for her death. Breonna Taylor was an emergency medical worker. She lived in Louisville, Kentucky. On March 13th, police officers entered her home. Taylor's boyfriend was Kenneth Walker. He was with Taylor. He said that they did not know who was entering the home. Walker fired a gun to protect himself and Taylor. The police fired back and hit Taylor. Taylor, who was black, died. She was 26 years old. The police were looking for someone else. That person did not live there. A Kentucky grand jury considered whether to file criminal charges against the police officers. A grand jury is a group of people. They look at the case evidence. They determine if the evidence is strong enough to file charges. Charges bring the accused person to trial. At trial, another jury looks at the case. They determine whether the accused person is guilty or innocent. The Kentucky grand jury did not charge the police officers with killing Taylor. The jury made the announcement on September 23rd. Lawyers said that two white officers who fired their weapons were justified. They said the officers were protecting themselves. One police officer is charged in the case. The grand jury officially charged just one officer with a crime. His name is Brent Hannickson. He is also white. The jury said Hannickson behaved in a way that put others' safety and lives at risk. In this case, he shot into the homes of Taylor's neighbors. The charges could mean that Hannickson could go to prison. Hannickson was fired from his job at the Louisville Police Department. This happened on June 23rd. The case is still being investigated. The federal government is determining if national laws were broken. Taylor and George Floyd inspired protests across the country. Floyd was a black man. He died on May 25th in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He was killed by a white police officer. The deaths of Taylor and Floyd drew attention to issues of racism in the United States. They also have sparked demand for changes in policing. Some people wanted to see the police face charges. The charges caused sadness, frustration, and anger among some people. They wanted the grand jury to approve more serious charges. Protesters began marching through the streets of Louisville after the announcement. They shouted, "No justice, no peace." Some sat quietly and cried. Many people think police officers who kill unarmed black Americans rarely face charges. They say the laws regularly favor police. They do not often result in serious criminal accusations. Criminal law is not meant to respond to every sorrow and grief, Daniel Cameron said. He is the Attorney General for the state of Kentucky, but my heart breaks for the loss of Miss Taylor. Cameron is a Republican. He's also the first black lawyer to represent all of the people in the state of Kentucky. The grand jury finds officers were protecting themselves. Cameron said the officers were protecting themselves. He said that this explains their actions. He said this explanation prevents the grand jury from pursuing criminal charges in Taylor's death. The other two officers who entered Taylor's apartment were Jonathan Mattingly and Miles Cosgrove. Cameron said that they announced themselves before entering. Taylor's mother is Tamika Parker. After Taylor's death, Palmer sued the three officers. On September 15th, the city reached an agreement. The city agreed to pay Palmer $12 million, and they also promised to make changes to policing.